Welcome to News West 9's West Texas View with Johnny Lou Avery.
We're so glad to have you today. We're starting a two-part series today with the Laura Bush Institute and the of the Texas Tech University Health Science Center, and we're going to be announcing during the programs about a very exciting research project that's very important to women and young girls in this area. So stay tuned, because you're going to want to hear all about this and how you might, or one of your loved ones might, get involved in this. But this, in this segment of the program, I want you to meet Dr. Leslie Chupp. She's one of the people that run our program for women and children, and they have a facility here in Midland, and it's called the Laura Bush Institute. And Leslie, before we talk about that very important institute, I want us to talk a little bit about you and how you got to this position.
Okay, thank you for having me on today. Well, I am a native of Midland, Texas. I was born here, but my parents moved to Houston when I was 5 years old, and I lived there, went to medical school in the Galveston area, had a private practice in obstetrics and gynecology in the Clear Lake area, and then came back to West Texas about 4 years ago to work for Texas Tech.
And that has been a wonderful homecoming, hasn't it?
It's been great. I've enjoyed almost every minute.
And then you went to the Laura Bush Institute was created, and it has just been a wonderful facility for our whole West Texas area. We have women and children that come from all over West Texas to take advantage of its services. So tell us a little bit about the mission.
Sure. Well, that's one of the reasons I actually came to Texas Tech, because there was an opening for a new position for a new institute called the Laura Bush Institute for Women's Health. What that is an institute within the Texas Tech Health Sciences Center. It's multi-campus. There's one in Amarillo, there's one in El Paso, there's a branch in Lubbock, and then there's a branch in the Permian Basin, which is housed in Midland at the Jenna Welch Women's Center, which is a building that's been open for about 3 years. When I first came, I was the first director, and the mission of the Laura Bush Institute is to promote women's research. It doesn't have to be women, but it can be research that benefits women.
Affects women.
Affects women.
Yeah.
For instance, men can be enrolled in studies and protocols, but when we do enroll men, we like to look at different outcomes in women and men. So we're not just grouping everybody all together. Also, we have a community outreach mission. So we do lots of community outreach, and you'll hear more about that later. And we also have an educational mission. So in addition to my role as a physician, doing mostly gynecology and doing surgery and things like that, I have another job, which is to do this mission of the Laura Bush Institute. So for me, it's a wonderful job, and it's a great opportunity.
It's the best of all worlds, isn't it?
I've loved it very much, yes.
But one of the things that we have to keep hammering, because so few people seem to really realize the total scope of the Texas Tech Health Science Center. And the state of Texas is very fortunate to have the University of Texas Health Science Centers and the Texas Tech and the Texas A&M and all of these that are really working in research, in clinic practice, as well as working to educate and provide people in the fields of medicine and allied health and so on. So you've got the education component, which you're involved in, you've got the research component, which you're involved in, and you've got the medical, the clinic, the clinician part of it, that you are able to still see patients on a regular basis. So I can understand why this would be the best of all worlds for you. But I want us to talk just a little bit about how one of the things that you're so interested in are the problems that are facing adolescents in West Texas. Not just West Texas, but we are focused on West Texas.
That's right. I didn't initially have an interest in adolescents because I'd always lived in large areas with large cities where you had lots of specialists, you had lots of doctors who would see teenagers or babies, or if they had a specific problem, women who had different. So when I came here, I just realized we have so many adolescents here, and there are really if you look at all the areas that you talked about surrounding Midland County, Ector County, down to El Paso, even south, there really are no specialists in adolescent medicine. And the reason that's important is because there's a gap between the pediatric years and the adult years. There are those really special years where if you intervene medically, you can actually prevent a lot of diseases from occurring as an adult. So I noticed that there was a high rate of things here, such as diabetes, obesity, which leads to insulin-dependent diabetes sometimes. Pre-diabetes in adolescence can be altered if somebody has the facility and the means to intervene. Also, there's a high teen pregnancy rate here, higher than the national average, higher even than the Texas average. In some counties, last publication, in one of the counties in our catchment area actually had the highest rate in the whole nation. So that's a problem that nobody really had any way to help or intervene with because the resources weren't here. So as a research institute and being in West Texas, it just seemed like the right place to concentrate our efforts. So
and
that's
when
why I
you
became
when
interested.
you talk about a geographic area that's so large, but a more sparse population, it's understandable that you don't have those specialty doctors
Exactly.
to reach those adolescents.
That's right.
So this is really a gem of an opportunity for our adolescent girls to be treated all over West Texas through
Yes.
the Laura Bush and the Jenna Welch.
Right, it is, yes. I think it's a great, like I said, I think it's a great way to concentrate our efforts. And the community support has been very, very, very behind this as well.
And now describe where your building is, because a lot of people, have trouble finding you.
Yes. Well, if you've lived in Midland a long time, then I will tell you it's the old Allison Cancer Center that's been remodeled, and it's beautiful and it's new. If you haven't been in Midland very long, then the best way to describe our location is behind the hospital across from St. Anne's School. And it's a Texas Tech Physicians building, and it is connected to the hospital.
And you always see a Texas Tech logo on any of our buildings.
That's
and
right.
So you
Yes.
will not, once you get to North End Street, you'll be able
That's
to
it,
find
yes.
it. We're going to have to take a break, but we're going to come back and talk more with Dr. Chupp in just a minute. See you in just a minute.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be right back.